Welcome into Scoop du Jour, Ed Easy Smith. That's a cool nickname. I'm excited to get into where that nickname came from, but we're here with a former NFL tight end, minor league baseball player. You spent 9 years in the minors. You spent 6 years in the NFL. You have quite the resume, but there are a number of things that you are now. Radio personality, podcast host, fellow podcast host, motivational speaker, published author. So many things. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much. And it's funny, we have these conversations and, in a few minutes we got to know each other before hitting record. I love how we learned a couple of things about each other and it leads into a better conversation. So thank you so much for having me on. I've been looking forward to this.
It really is so nice. Like every time I'm like, wait, I wish I was recording all of those things we talked about. But you know what? It makes me think that this is just going to be an incredible conversation on the mic, just as well as it was off of the mic. You and I were talking about just the incredible career you had on the field. Like I said, so many things you are doing and have done off of it. And you and I connected on a couple of those, which we'll get to. But I think for those who aren't familiar with who you are, your professional career is an interesting one because what we were talking about is everyone wanted you to be the football guy, to play football. You took a little bit of a different path. You did baseball. Walk me through what you did athletically and how you got to where you got, because it's a little bit untraditional, right?
Yeah. I started out, football was not even something I enjoyed when I was a kid. I played it one time when I was 8 years old, and I was you talk about my nickname, I was very easygoing and laid back. I wasn't one of those kids, aggressive. And so I played football when I was 8 years old and I did not like it. And after like the first or second practice, I came home, both my brother and I, he's 2 years younger than me, came home and I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. And she said, okay, well, look, we don't quit around here. So whatever you do, you're going to have to finish this one out. And then if you don't want to do it from there, that's cool. So I ended up playing that first season, didn't play much on the field. After that 1 year of football, I actually played soccer for 4 years leading into high school. Once you get to high school, I'm dating myself, but the early 80s, going into high school, soccer wasn't the thing to do. I know we're going into the world. We're doing the World Cup right now, but
right.
So, I kind of was like, I'm just going to sit this one out because I wasn't going to play soccer in high school. And the football coaches had heard about me and my size and everything I did on the basketball court and baseball field. And they basically came and started recruiting me. And one of my friends, he was not very athletic, but he thought, hey, let's go out. We were sitting in gym one day and he said, let's go out for the football team. And, maybe, it might help us, become popular, maybe, win our way with the girls, So a week later, I was just starting tight end on the freshman team and he quit. He turned his uniform in, and the rest is history. From there, I started playing football. All state by my senior year. I was a punter. I did all the kicking, tight end, defensive end. I did a little bit of everything. And like I said, but at the same time, I was all state baseball player and I was all South Jersey basketball. So I had some choices and decisions. But what my love was baseball from the time I was a little boy, first time I stepped on the field. And, the football coaches, they get notoriety for the program when we used to go to big schools. I grew up in South Jersey. We had guys all over the state, all over my county, choosing big schools, and it was cool, and that's what they wanted me to do. I decided to follow my dream, and I, a lot of people pushing me in that football direction. What happened is I eventually, I took a few of my visits. I ended up deciding to go to the University of North Carolina, go Tar Heels. And signed a full ride to North Carolina on a baseball scholarship, which normally what they do is they break your baseball scholarship up to give you this and some financial aid. And I told them because, I always had the other options. So they gave me a full ride. And my plan was to go play baseball full. And then if I wanted to play football on the side, I was going to do it. And then the 1987 draft came along. Chicago White Sox drafted me in the seventh round. Haggled with them for a few weeks. Coach at North Carolina kept trying to pull me back, but eventually I went that route. I signed with the White Sox, went down to rookie ball that year, and the long and short of it, I spent 9 years climbing the ladder, topped out in AAA, and then at one point decided maybe, give football a chance. Baseball was getting on my nerves a little bit. And I started thinking about other things to do. And it was just, my brother was in the league at the time. My brother, 2 years younger than me, had went to Notre Dame, played under Lou Holtz, was in the league playing for a first round pick for the Saints in 93. And, a few years later, 95, I was contemplating my decision to play baseball those years, and then decided I'd give football a try, but asked my little brother first what he thought about it. He stamped my approval. And then, like I said, I think you mentioned, I played a bunch of years in the NFL, went to Super Bowl with the Falcons in 98. I played over Europe in
Yeah.
96. That's how I got my start to get back here to get into the NFL. And famously played after my NFL careers, I played 1 year with the XFL
Right.
in 2001 to cap everything off. So as you mentioned, it was a journey, 15 years between the two of them, and a lot of bus rides, a lot of fancy meals, playing the NFL. I experienced it all, and incredible journey, and I wouldn't give it up for anything.
It's so neat, the trajectory, and just the fact that I like the story of kind of never giving up. I think it's always interesting when you talk to baseball players who did go through the minor league system. It's a tough one, right? You really have to grind it out, spending 9 years there. What made you, one, stick with it, and then one, kind of decide once you reached the AAA level that maybe you didn't want to kind of keep pushing for that MLB contract if it would come?
That's an interesting. The love of the game is what made me go through it for 9 years. I know a lot of guys who put a couple in and they were like, I'm out. They tapped out.
It's not glamorous.
It's not glamorous. There's a lot of long bus rides. I can tell you about Portland, Maine to Canton, Ohio, 14 hours, leaving after a game at night or leaving in the morning to get home late in the afternoon, and that's your off day. Truck stop meals, you name it. You see the movie, the most entertaining baseball movie for me ever is Bull Durham. And that's the closest. I mean, I lived that life, and they glamorize some of it and go over the top with some of it, but that is a true depiction of that lifestyle, and it's rough, especially at the lower levels. You get up. I remember when I was in Buffalo playing in AAA with the Indians. We're flying all over the place to New Orleans and Oklahoma City and all these much nicer cities than I played in, at the lower levels. So that's what kept me going for a while. Interestingly enough, I was playing through the steroid era, Jourdan, and I was a dude, and I can honestly tell you, I never touched a steroid in my life. I watched guys from my 1987 through 95 when I played the game. Steroids in the early 90s and on it was rampant. And I started watching guys that I knew were taking the stuff because, we all talked and we all, in the minor leagues, I saw guys climbing ladders and all of a sudden getting into the big leagues, making hundreds of thousands of dollars while I'm still twiddling in the minor leagues. And it just got to a point where I was just like, this is ridiculous. So I was fighting a losing battle. And the final cap for me came in 95 or 94 when they had the strike season. Baseball went away. Minor leagues, we continued to play. I went over to Dominican Republic that year, played winter ball, came back 95, and I'm getting all these offers because they wanted scab players to come play and take place of the big leaguers if they didn't go to spring training. And I was like, look, I signed a contract with the Indians. It was AAA contract. And I said, look, I'm playing AAA baseball. I'm not going. So I get to training camp, and every single day, Mike Hargrove, who was the manager at the time, he's coming over from the big league camp, and they had that, the scab players over there, and he's riding over on his golf cart every day to AAA. We're over on my side, and he called me off the field. I'm trying to take batting practice. I'm trying to take my ground balls. Hey, Mike, what do you want? Ed, look, I need you over here. You need to come on over here, and because we're gonna give you a great look, and this is your opportunity. And I'm, this is my 9th year, and I'm thinking that sounds great, but I signed a minor league contract. I'm not crossing any lines. I used to tell him every day, appreciate the offer, Mike. I said, when everything is settled, I'm going to come back. I'm going to, I'll be here when you need me, when it's the right. So what happened was, the Players Association at the time, they're battling with the owners, and it's all this. They're like, Ed, we appreciate you, the players union. Ed, we appreciate you sticking on our side. Okay, that's cool. So the strike finally breaks. I ended up signing. I broke camp with my AAA contract. I'm in AAA this year. I'm leading the American Association in home runs, average, RBIs, everything the first month of the season. The strike breaks, they come back, bring the 40-man roster guys back. And I don't know whether it was something from above, but what happened was all the players who went over there and crossed the line, when their players union came back, every one of them had a black mark on them. And they said, they literally took a list. We never want to see these guys again. The owners had made promises to all these guys who crossed, hey, we're going to take care of you when this is done. When it was all said and done, they went to every one of those guys, all the things they promised them, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone. And they were never to be seen again. Meanwhile, a guy who supported the union and just stayed out of it, I get there, I'm doing my job, thinking, okay, this is my opportunity. Next thing you know, Jourdan, I'm sitting on the bench for 14 days in a row. I sat a doubleheader in Des Moines. These are the things you remember.
Yeah.
Everybody plays. Doubleheader, everybody plays. I actually sat to a doubleheader in Des Moines, Iowa. And everybody's looking at me. And every day I'm coming in, I'm looking on the lineup card. What is going on? Guys are like, I have no idea, because I know the 40-man roster guys that come down, they had the guys they need to play. But mind you, I played third base on an everyday basis. I could play first base. I started playing a little left and right field, and I could also DH. So you had 5 positions or spots you could put me in line. So what happened was I sat for 14 days. No explanation, no nothing. We get back from a road trip in Buffalo. I come in, I see my name on the lineup card. I was like, holy cow, what the hell? So I go out, do my job, 1 for 4 that day. Next thing you know, I'm being called into the manager's office. Hey, the organization loves what you're doing, but we're going to send you back down to Double-A so you can, we want to see you play every day. And up here, that was the breaking point for me, Jourdan. I went from flying around the country, one step away from the big leagues, back to a bus league in the Eastern League. Like I mentioned, that 14-hour bus ride from Portland, Maine to Canton, Ohio. I went back to that. And that summer, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And that's when I started thinking, I'm done with baseball. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I started thinking, and I had one of those nights where we had a rain out in Canton, Ohio. I was back in my little apartment, raining outside, no game that night. And I just started thinking, man, what if I went and played some football? Right? And the conversation or the thought started sprinkling in my mind, and called my brother down in New Orleans that night, asking this crazy question. What if I got, I finished this season, got in shape, and then maybe see if I could get a workout, a tight end in the NFL. And his words, if anybody could do it, Ed, you can, I'll support. And that's kind of sparked everything. But that was the journey and the decision. That's what caused me to even think about leaving baseball. And then my biggest foe was almost trying to talk myself out of it, because I thought it was such a crazy idea. And that's why, when I speak to people and, these groups, I'm a motivational speaker. Sometimes our biggest enemies are ourselves, because we try to talk ourselves out of taking what I call that leap of faith. And I was, like I said, there were many a night and day I just kept saying, this is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. And even after that season, because I finished that season in 95, the weight lifted off my shoulder. I knew I was done with baseball. Didn't tell a soul. And when the final out was played, that 95 season, I was like, okay, on to the next. But I still didn't tell anybody for a long time till I, worked my way through some things. And then next, I bump into guys and I talk to guys all the time. I remember I was sitting home one day and I looked up and they were talking about this tight end named Ed Smith over in NFL, the World League Marathon. I was like, that can't be the one I know. And sure enough, it was me. So
that's amazing. Well, I really like what you said. I mean, not like what you said, but it's interesting about, kind of one bad situation, but a buildup can leave a bad taste in your mouth. And I think it will resonate with a lot of people, athletes or, sports related or not. You have a bad work situation and you're like, what do? I have to make a change, right?
Yeah.
And you have to be the one to make a change. And I certainly have been in that situation where it's like the only person who can make that change is you. And even if that means taking a leap of faith and doing something different. So I think that will resonate with a lot of people. And I like what you said with that. I also love how your brother was such a big factor. So do you guys have a close relationship? You must.
Absolutely. Yeah. And he was my catapult into the league. I remember, like I said, he is, I was playing minor league baseball. I watched him at Notre Dame. Now he's in the NFL and I'm flying out to New Orleans to see him. And I'm, after I'm done hanging out with him, I'm driving over to Arizona or wherever to get ready for my baseball season, to watch him kind of go up the ladder and do what he did. And my brother will be the first one to tell you to this day. Because, we have my brother played in the NFL 8 years. My nephew is currently in the league,
Yes.
Irv Smith Jr. So it's in
Mhm.
our family blood. And we always get the question, like, who's the best athlete in the family? That type of thing. And
I wanna know what's in the water. What are you guys drinking?
yeah, my brother will tell you every time. He's like, I'd like to say it's me, but Ed was that he actually wanted to be
Really?
me. When he went to Notre
Aw,
Dame under Lou Holtz, he actually played his first 2 years baseball. He asked Coach Holtz if he could play baseball because he wanted to be like me. He gave it a
that's
shot. And
awesome.
after his sophomore year, Coach Holtz was like, look, you need to figure out where your bread is buttered. You need to come back over here and make this
Totally.
full time. But my brother, like I said, what he was doing in the NFL at that time, and me knowing I was a great, let's call good athlete. I was watching him do what he was doing. I was thinking, man, and not saying if Irv can do it, I can do it too. But it was almost like, man, I see what he's doing, and I wonder, and I was fortunate enough to get into the league, and we played against each other. I remember my
Yes.
first active game in the league was against the New Orleans Saints. I was, with the
Yes.
Falcons, and the pride of the two of us standing across. We actually stood on the same line, looking across the field at each other, doing the national anthem. And then in
That's
that
so
same game,
cool.
I was on the hands team. We were late in the game. We were ahead, and I was on the hands team, and I happened to be the first line on their line of scrimmage, on their sideline. So I'm sitting there, and I'm getting ready, and I'm getting ready. The ball might be kicked my way, and I hear this voice over my shoulder. It's my brother, and it was like the coolest thing. Him and a couple of guys giving me a little stuff, and throughout our careers, we played against each other a few times. San Francisco, he was with San Francisco. We played him 3 times. The year I went to the Super Bowl, just a big family affair for my mom and dad. They
Yeah.
had an opportunity to travel around the world, not just the country, because the world. They came over and saw me in Europe when I was playing football. They traveled across the country to see me play baseball. They followed my brother everywhere. And then for us to be playing against each other, it was so cool. When I was he'd come out to Atlanta. We'd all go out to dinner. Then I'd take him back to his hotel, and mom and dad would either stay with me or they'd go to their hotel. And it was just like, it was the coolest thing in the world. And
Yeah.
I said, my brother and I, we joke about it all the time. Whenever he sees my NFC Championship ring, he tries to take it off my finger because he's like, that should be my ring. Because he was
He doesn't have one, right?
no, he went to the playoffs a couple times, but never, like I said, I was the only one who went to the Super Bowl. The year we
That's
went, yeah, we beat
that's
them.
awesome.
We beat them in the divisional game, went to Minnesota, which he came up and watched. Then we obviously beat Minnesota to go to the Super Bowl, and then he was in. My mom, dad were there, but just we have so many great memories, and the memories didn't start at professional ball; they started when we were little kids, And those are the things that we laugh about the most and reminisce about the most because those are really special. Then it was all topped off by the fact that we can talk about what we did in the NFL together as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a unique thing, and it's so rare, though there are a lot of siblings in the NFL now. I think I just saw
Yeah,
a story on it this week on,
yeah.
yeah, and on ESPN, and but it's obviously so hard to get into the NFL, yet there are a number of siblings, like you have the Diggs, the Bosas,
Mm-hmm.
so it's so neat. I think it's also really cool how you mentioned your parents because it's so special.
Yeah.
Though I'm curious when you guys were in a game against each other, did they do like that split jersey situation? Did they
They
sit on
didn't.
opposite sides?
No, they just, my mom, she would always just root for us both to come out of the game healthy.
Yes.
My dad wanted us both to score 4 touchdowns apiece,
Okay.
and whoever won. The one year when we were, I was in Atlanta, he was in San Fran, and we were still in the same division at that time, the NFC West. We went out there in week 3 and they pounded us, and then we came later in the year. Everybody saw we were for real. They came to our place and they beat us, or we beat them. And I remember
Nice.
asking my mom after the game, who are you rooting for in that one? And she actually secretly said, well, because they beat you guys so bad early in the season, I was hoping you guys got one. And then then the NFC Championship or the divisional came later on, just a few weeks later in that year. Like, who are you rooting for this time? She was like, I'm not giving you that one. She's like, so,
Even during the regular season, and then she's staying quiet.
yeah, she's staying quiet, but it was so cool to see my mom. And when there were opportunities, not when my brother and I were just playing together, we're playing against each other, but going up to New York to play the Giants or Philly. I played in Philly in '99. It was like being in high school. I was staying at home, going across the Ben Franklin Bridge. It's about a 45-minute commute every day into work. But, I was coming home like I was in high school, playing with the Eagles at the time. And there were, we get the Saturday when I had to go to the hotel, and Sunday I'd either have a whole bunch of people at the game up in Philly, or, when we were playing close like New York or Washington or something like that, had family down for those. So it was just a magical ending, to be, just to finish things out the way I did. But obviously the whole ride with the family was just unbelievable.
Well, it's not every day you get to talk to someone who's played in a Super Bowl. So is that experience as kind of magical as it seems, or as a player, does it feel like any other game?
No, if I went to 15 of them, every one of them would be magical. But just to go to one, unbelievable. Just the feeling when I was out there on the field goal unit when we kicked the winner in Minnesota. So, my mom, she had been so stressed out because they went out to San Fran to watch my brother play the Packers, went back to Jersey, came down to see us play each other. And then we won and went up to Minnesota, and she said, look, I'm going to have to sit this one out. We're going to watch from home. But when the field goal went up and through the goalpost, I jumped like that Toyota commercial. My mom said she was right there in unison with me. So to do that, and then, and then for somebody like myself experiencing the lows of minor league baseball, right. And all of a sudden you told me, you fast forward a few years, and I remember the week leading up to us flying out to Miami for the week that we were going to be in Miami. I mean, we were rock stars. And then, you go down to Florida, to Miami, everywhere we went, police escorts. We had our own rental cars. We had the back entrance to the hotel. We were superstars. And then I remember the day of the game, just, like even the night before, it's funny. I have a picture on my wall here. They caught me the last walkthrough we had on Saturday, the one walkthrough we had at the stadium on Saturday. I had drifted off myself, and I was kind of in a squat position, just looking around. And somebody from the Associated Press took a picture, caught me sitting there, and it made the paper in different spots across the country. And like I said, just to be, the feeling of coming out of the tunnel on that Sunday, knowing the whole world was watching, and then thinking about my journey to get there, unbelievable. The experience, I get chills every year when we get to the, talking about it, I get chills. But when the Super Bowl comes around every year, and I have a 12-year-old son and a 30-year-old son, but they watch the highlights, when they do the Super Bowl reruns, and they, man, I'm telling you, it's really proud. I'm very proud of the accomplishment to get there, but the experience itself was unbelievable. And then everywhere I go, people see my NFC Championship ring when I wear it, and there are not many people who have those. And like I said, it's something that really sets me apart, even my short time in the NFL. And like I said, you throw on the baseball career as well.
Do you wear it every day?
No, that's just when I'm doing big meetings, speaking events, because I do radio out here, I usually wear it every Saturday when I do the radio show, because we do all live remotes, and across the valley. So, we go out and do them at a sports bar, this or that. I like to take it then, but it's not an everyday thing. It's in its case most of the time. But like I said, when I'm trying to impress, I'll pull it out. That and a nice watch, they go good together.
Well, so you mentioned the Super Bowl. Like every year, it's so exciting. So do you have a pick for this year? Who do you think, and who do you want? Two different.
What I would have wanted was all of my fantasy football teams to make it.
Hey, me too.
Which none of them did this year. I was 0 for 3, just bad. As far as rooting for a particular team, no, I root more for coaches and people that I had great experiences with, because a lot of guys I play with, or some of my coaches, are still in the league.
Oh, nice.
I root for them. And Andy Reid, I played under him. I have 2 tight ends coaches that are on the Pittsburgh Steelers roster. They're still coaches. And then players. The
Vikings. You're rooting for.
Oh yeah, always for my nephew.
Right?
Yeah, I was just out there a few weeks ago. They played the Cardinals. It was so great to see my nephew out there.
So cool.
So I root for not necessarily teams, but people. And obviously my nephew. As far as who I think is going to be in it, man, I tell you, the Eagles look pretty good.
Yeah.
They just look so consistent. I know people don't like they're not enough flash for them, but sometimes you don't have to be flashy. You just got to be good.
Yeah.
And it's going to be tough to beat the Eagles, especially if they have home field advantage. On the other side, everybody's preaching Buffalo, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Kansas City to me is always that wild card. But we also know Cincinnati is Kansas City's kryptonite. So it'll be interesting. I think it's a 3-team race over there. Over on the other side, I think with the Eagles, rolling, and San Francisco, if Garoppolo was there, I'd say,
I know.
It's just hard for me to stay with. Yeah, it's just with Purdy. It's just hard to, because he is a young quarterback. We just don't know. So I think Eagles, and then on the other side, it's a 3-team race.
Jalen Hurts has been my fantasy MVP. I'm very happy. He's my quarterback. He gets me like my league. It's 2 quarterbacks, and the point system is crazy. I get like so many points from him. So I have him and Josh Allen. So I'm very, very lucky. Knock on wood.
Feel my pain on this. I'm gonna give you Tom Brady, who had the year of his life last year. All of a sudden this year is like, oh my God, killing me. And then in another league, I had Aaron Rodgers. Just and one of the, I mean,
think you go with the legacies, and they're just laying down. Oh my
goodness, just killing me.
Any other year. What? Okay, so the Cardinals. So now you're in Arizona. What brought you there?
In 1991, I was traded from the White Sox to the Brewers. Spring training was always in Florida when I was with the White Sox. They've since then moved here, but the Brewers spring training was here. So in 92, I had my first spring training. Loved it. Ended up spending my winters here like I did in Florida all those years. And so I was here for about 3 years or so before I made the switch to football. When I went football, I went back east for a little bit because my teams were over there. I ended up living in Atlanta for 7 years, bought my first house over there and was settled. And in the early 2000s, just my mom and dad started coming out here to visit my brother more because he bought a house out here. They were coming down to see me in Atlanta, but I just noticed everybody was congregating out here more. I came out for a little visit. Next thing you know, I'm selling my house. Here I am 19 years later, and, never thought I'd be this far west. I thought, if not Atlanta, just like, I thought North Carolina was going to be my spot. And just like she came out here, next, here I am. Just, I love it. And this, don't stay here for the summers. It's way too hot. It's all about these 65-degree days now through, so
very envious of that right now as I'm staring at like a 20-degree Chicago day.
I know those.
Yeah. Oh, I know, right? We're like a White Sox. Well, I grew up a Cardinals fan, but my boyfriend's a White Sox fan. Okay. So we're not Cubs, which is, good to
I played for both of them.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you had all the teams. So we have to go back to this North Carolina connection, because you and I didn't know. Well, I didn't know.
Absolutely
that
not.
You were committed to Carolina until we were off the mic at the beginning, and I knew all of these teams were recruiting you for football, but then you mentioned Carolina wanted you for baseball, and it's always cool to meet someone who is a Tar Heel fan, and you could have been there. So it is such a special place you and I were talking about, but you did something really cool there recently. I want you to share all the details, but they're doing something really neat when it comes to football research and what it's doing for athletes, nowadays.
Yeah, I was contacted about 2 or 3 months ago for a study that they were doing over there, and it was on former NFL players, and it's all about the cognizance in our brains. They want to study our brains a little bit, see what's going on. I had to do some testing over the phone, memory tests and different things like that. And I've done them before. I did my baseline for the NFL about 7 or 8 years ago out here. And it's pretty much the same stuff. They want to do word association. How many words can you remember? Different types of memory tests and things like that. So I did the one on the phone. They said, you're approved. Like, so we can have you over. So they wanted to know the dates. I gave them some dates. Next thing you know, I'm on a plane over to North Carolina. I told you, they gave me the option, and I'm way out here in Arizona. They gave me the option to go to Wisconsin or to North Carolina, and actually Chapel Hill I'm thinking, Wisconsin, you can get that. I was like, oh, heck no. So I was like,
Chapel Hill, baby.
Chapel Hill. Now, mind you, I haven't been on the campus since my recruiting trip back in 87. So a lot has changed since 1987.
Yeah.
So I fly over there, I fly through fly through Charlotte, get over there. I'm first time on campus in all these years. Unbelievable. It brought back so many memories, you know. And I was there I flew in on a Tuesday and no rest. I went right from Tuesday landing. Now, obviously, you got to think about how early I had to get up here in Arizona to get over there,
Yeah.
land. I go right from the airport to the hotel, and 45 minutes later, my driver's picking me up for my first MRI. So they want a
Wow.
full, look at the body. And, I've had so many surgeries. I've had 3 shoulders, 2 backs, both knees,
Wow.
So they want to check everything out. Then, so that was my first taste on Tuesday night. Wednesday was a full day of PET scans, memory tests, forms to fill out, questions to answer, and did that from probably 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning all the way till 4 in the afternoon. And I said 2 PET scans that day, another one on Thursday before I left, and some other cognizant stuff. And by the time they told me, by the time you leave, we're going to, because with all these PET scans, we're going to know if there's something going on, and we will let you know. We're not going to wait to give you the formal report. So I was like, good for that. So fortunately, and, God bless, I all my cognizant stuff, my PET scans, everything came back clean and good. Which
Wow,
is,
good.
and then they did a full report on, my short-term memory, my long-term memory. And it's I've done them before, but it is so draining. Like I
Yeah.
said, they'll give you 20 words, one at a time, and then they'll try to take you off course real quick. And then remember those 20 words that we did?
Yeah.
How many can you name? And I was like, oh my God, cat, dog, fire hydrant, and you
Right.
feel you're so drained, and you actually feel, I almost call it stupid, because you're like, I should remember more of this. But when it was all said and done, I have good levels. But, I know I'm a little bad on my short-term memory, but, everything else looked good. But it was a full line of testing. Like I said, 3 PET scans, the MRI, the memory stuff. And they also want to know how you're doing socially, with some questions, do you, can't tell you how many times I had to answer, do you hear voices? Do voices tell you to do stuff to yourself? Do voices tell you to do stuff to other people? Just they want to, so it was, by the time it was done, it was grueling, but at the same time, I got a chance to be on campus. I got a chance to go over to the football stadium. I sat in the
Yeah.
stadium by myself, took some pictures, took some video. I'm on my way back from the stadium. I bump into Puff Johnson, member
Yeah.
of the North Carolina Tar Heel basketball team. Now, mind you, when they were out here a few years ago in 2017, actually for the
Oh, that's right.
championship game, I was there for the semifinal and for the big one. And the
Lucky
year,
you.
yeah. And I also went over to that one in Houston. They won and then
It was
lost against
the year
Villanova.
before. Yeah.
So I follow. I am devout. When you talk about North Carolina, as soon as you said that you're down with the Tar Heels, you became one of my favorite people in the world, because
Yes. I
I
love it.
bleed blue. I love the Tar. Now, like I said, I love the fact that I was able to go back to the campus, and you see all the balls and things behind me, the hats, and I told you I bought some socks last night, or my socks came in, and I ordered some baseball jersey and long sleeve, so I'm Tar Heel blue and blue. And like I said, the fact that I was able to go over to the campus and do this test and contribute to, the lively, the life, like basically give I guess material for the study, so they can see where we are as players, and maybe there's another player that goes in, because it was so
Yeah.
secretive. There was only one other guy that was there while I was there. Never saw him. Every time they would close my curtain when we were anywhere near each other, and when I came out, they closed it, so it's all anonymous. We didn't even bump into each other at the hotel. I think they had them in a different hotel. So it's something that they do, and I hope they continue to do it, just to monitor players and what we go through after our post career.
And it's all as it relates to CTE.
Yes.
And so how did they target you? How did they how were they determining what players to use? Did they kind of give you any insight into that? Or do you think that will come out, when the study
they put
comes out?
they put a survey. They actually did, it's almost, they put a survey out. If you just, if you're an NFL player, we get certain emails and things, and it just came in an email. If you're interested, please, contact us, that type of thing. So they have the list of former players, and some guys don't want to be involved in it. I personally do know some guys that are really struggling. And, the hardest part is, like for me, I'm doing radio, I'm speaking, and God willing, I hope my brain continues to do what it does. But I do know some guys through conversation, and my brother, he's had several instances where, for some of his former teammates from college, and pro have taken their own lives and stuff like that. So we know the dangers that are out there from the era of football that we played in, and they're trying to clean it up as best they can. It still is a violent game, but as much as we can teach them from what we've gone through, meaning for former players, maybe it'll benefit or continue to benefit the players moving forward in the league and make it a safer game at all levels, not just at the pro level.
Yeah, it's really important, I think, and really cool that you're willing to be a part of that. You mentioned some of your motivational speaking, and I'm curious how you got into that and kind of what sparked that passion.
It was kind of the same thing as with my book. For years, people would hear my story, because a lot of times, because I'm not a person that tells people what I do. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, what do you do? Well, I used to play some sports. Who'd you play for? I run down the list and they find the story interesting. And just as you mentioned earlier about you can never give up. I have so many messages throughout my journey that it just became something that people all of a sudden wanted to hear it more. And, they wanted me to come out and, speak to their group, whether it be youth or business or whatever it is, and so I started thinking, I should probably do this a little more often,
Yeah.
and the same thing with my book, which was, it's called Easy Does It, The Journey of a Lifetime. It was published in 2005. I had no inclining to write a book, but every time I would tell somebody my story after I retired between 2001 and up till it was published in 2005, every time the first words out of people's mouth when I would tell them a little briefing of man, you should write a book. And I kept thinking, like 100 people have told me this, I should probably listen to one of them. And so I took that as another task, and I actually wrote it all myself. And once I found my publishing company, I was part of the editing process, and that was something else. And that was such a great experience as well, writing it and helping with the editing process and watching it go from my manuscript that I gave them to the finished product was unbelievable as well. So it's just, part of my journey, the speaking and everything. And then even the radio, same thing. One day, about, was it 2011, somebody asked me, what would you like to be doing right now other than with some of the things you are? And I was like, I don't know. Oh, you ever thought about doing radio? No, I mean, I do it all the time. When people ask me to do their show, you ever thought about doing your own show? I don't know. Well, I don't know. And next I'm doing a little nightly show out here on the station in 2011. That did that for a couple of years. Next, everybody's wanting me to be on their shows on NBC and this and that. And then an opportunity came for my show, which is called Easy Sports Talk. Once again, my nickname, Easy, but Easy Sports Talk. Started that. It'll be 6 years coming up in March. First
Awesome.
we started in 2007, on 1060 AM, which was NBC Sports Radio at the time. It's now Sports Map Radio, but I've done the whole evolution. And now you start adding the podcasts and doing great shows like yours, something I never thought I would be great at. And I think I hope I'm at least good. People, I get a few people to ask me to join them. And as long as people say I don't stink, I'm like, okay, I'll do it tomorrow. So.
Well, you definitely don't stink. I think it's really cool, like, to be able to do all of these things. And it's neat that they all relate to sports, but outside of sports, do you have any things that you love to do?
Oh, I love to ride my motorcycle.
Nice.
I'm not I can't get on as much as I used to because of my back. I just had my second back operation a year and some change ago. So I took it out yesterday just to drop some Christmas cards off. And that's I was like, wow, just to get on it feels good. But that's one of my things. I have a huge movie collection. I have like over 1,000 DVDs.
Do you still watch them on the DVD player?
Yes, I do.
Oh,
I
okay.
love it. I got all the movie channels and stuff like that, but it's cool just to go to the shelf when you're in the mood for something, pull it off.
Very
And here's the thing: if I don't, who's going to watch over 1,000 DVDs? But it's one of my passions, my collection of that.
So what's like a favorite movie?
My favorite all-time movie is The Color Purple.
Oh, amazing! Yes.
Color
That's like
Purple,
one of my mom's favorite movies too. She'll probably tell you that's like her favorite.
Okay, a close second is The Matrix, so you can see how far different spectrums. I love The Matrix. Yeah, that's one of my all-time go-tos as well. So those are my two favorite ones.
Okay, very diverse, but I like that.
Yeah.
And then, so are your kids into sports or? different content.
My oldest son, I just was up for a visit to see him and my grandkids about 3
Oh,
weeks ago. They're going to be down for Christmas as well. He is actually in medical school. He's finishing up. He's good, and
amazing.
he's I went up for my grandson's third birthday party. He
Oh,
and they had a little church, and my son is out there, dribbling and shooting because it was in the gym. Like, I don't remember that, So he's and my 12-year-old. He wants to be like my nephew so much. He's a football and
oh,
basketball player, and he's got skills. Well, like education is first. We always remind him of that. But if he puts his mind to it, I think he can be a good little athlete. Now, the percentage of athletes that get to the pro level, I always try to remind him it's everybody's not like your daddy, your uncle, and your nephew. So let's get that education first, and we'll see where everything goes. But he definitely,
has it in him.
he does a lot of things that I used to do too, running around the backyard throwing balls to himself. He'll just out
Oh,
of nowhere just run out of the house. Next thing you know, I hear the basketball back there and he's shooting and then I'll go see him practice. When he plays in these leagues, sometimes I'm like, wow, he's getting really good. So we'll see where that goes. But he definitely my oldest son, proud of him, finishing up his residency and stuff like that. And
what
my
does he
younger
want to be,
son,
or what kind of doctor?
pediatrician.
Nice,
Pediatrician.
amazing.
Yep. So
Well,
proud
we
of
know
both
that's
of them.
a tough grind. That's what my boyfriend is doing, not pediatrics, but residency, and
Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard. So
Yes.
it's a hard
I
thing.
it's funny. I talk to my son and I love to hear his stories about, his different rotations and
Mhm.
when people hear my background, all they want to do is talk sports, and I'm like, no, I want to talk about what you do,
Yeah.
and it's cool. My son, we go back and forth sometimes because he listens to all my podcasts and things that I do. And I'm going to steer him toward this one as well because this is another
Yes.
great one. But he'll call me or tell me, I listened to yesterday, but when we talk, I'm like, so tell me, like, what was the craziest thing you've seen, or what? And he's going through these different rotations. I'm like, oh my God. So it takes a special person to be a doctor. Kudos to
Absolutely.
your boyfriend.
Especially someone dealing with children too, because you're not only dealing with children, you're dealing with parents. So
Yes,
it's
yes.
hard. And it's a very special thing. But no, the stories I think are crazy. And especially like, I don't know about you, but I'm really squeamish.
Oh
So
God.
when somebody tells me anything, and especially like you're talking about movies, I can't watch like anything.
Is that right?
I'm always like covering my eyes. I'm just
You're
really
missing the best parts.
I know. I mean, I'm the complete opposite. My brother's in medical school too. My boyfriend, but my dad and I are both very squeamish. So we're like a paper cut, can't look at it. So
I'm squeamish when I see it a little bit. I'll tell you a quick story.
oh,
When I was a kid, I wanted to be a doctor too, right? And we had this dog. It was a mutt dog, and went out and got pregnant. I was probably 10, 11, 12, whatever it was. And my mom and dad, we're all upstairs. My brother's upstairs, and this dog is going into labor. And they were like, somebody needs to go down there and take care of this. So I was the one who went down.
oh my God.
After I came back up the stairs, I was like, I don't want to be a doctor anymore.
Yep,
I'm
I'm
done.
good.
I'm done. I'm good.
I'm good. Thank you.
And that
No,
was just
that would
pup.
be
That was
me.
just dog. Yeah.
Did y'all keep the dogs?
Oh yeah, yeah. We got
Oh,
rid. We gave some away, but yeah, that was one of our favorite dogs. So Mitzi,
oh.
I think her name was. Yeah.
Okay, a question I ask everyone, and I feel like you'll have a great answer for this because you do the motivational speaking and all of that. Best piece of advice you've ever received?
Wow, that is a good question. Whew. I'm trying to think who would have given it to me. I would probably say my dad. My dad instilled, and he passed away it'll be 4 years this coming March, but
Mm.
he was my rock. That dude was the one who my dad believed in me more than I believed in myself most of the
Oh,
time. My
best kind of
dad,
dad.
my dad thought to the day he passed away that I was the best athlete to ever walk this earth. And
Oh,
compared to anybody, and there were times when he motivated me to believe in myself more than than I did. And and that's important. There's some people a little too cocky. There are people that aren't confident enough in themselves, and there are people that are right there in the middle who have the humility but also know they're doggone good at what they do. I
mhm.
was one of those people that always just kind of did it and never realized some of the things I accomplished or could accomplish my dad was always there to kind of elevate me, to let me know,
Yeah.
I think you're great. You should think you're great too, and
Yes.
go do whatever it is that you want to do. And he was always, like I said, nobody was prouder of me, me and my brother and I, than my dad. And it was funny. We have stories like he was, because obviously we're athletes, we around other great athletes, Jerry Rice's and people like that. And my dad would be standing talking to somebody and like, well, my son, he's probably one of the best athletes in the world, talking to somebody like Jerry Rice or what was the one he did? Isaiah Thomas.
Oh
Isaiah
my
Thomas.
gosh.
He was telling my dad telling Isaiah
I love
Thomas about
that
how
though.
like, and then I later find out the story. I'm like, Pop, that was Isaiah Thomas you were talking to. So I
He's
don't
like, I
care.
don't care.
Yeah. So yeah, my dad, biggest fan, and always, like I said, was always there for me to make me believe in myself.
That's special though, because I think parents that do that to you and lift you up like you said, make you believe in yourself and feel really supported. And I certainly have parents like that. And it's
Mm-hmm.
helped me be confident. And that has to be like the first line, right? To help you kind of be who you are.
And
And I think that's really
on the flip
cool.
side, my dad was super critical of me when he knew I didn't put the time or the effort in, especially
Sure.
when I was younger. Being a great athlete, you just do it on talent. You don't want to practice. You don't want to go in the backyard and pitch, to get ready for this weekend's tournament or something. And when I didn't perform up to my level, he always reminded me of why I didn't, and was
Yeah.
always very critical of, you have to put, I don't care how great you think you are, or I think you are, you have to put the time and effort in. And that's just not with sports, with everything you do in your life. And like I said, he knew, I couldn't BS my dad. He knew when I put the time in, and he knew what I accomplished when I did what I did, going from baseball to football. And that's why he was, so proud of what I was able to pull off.
Did you have a hard time changing your body to make that
Oh,
change?
I was a baseball player, 6'4", about 220. Sometimes played a little heavy at 230 at third
Yeah.
base, but that was baseball weight. That was not heavy
Right.
lifting. That was when I finished that baseball season in '95, I was in Ohio, went over to Jersey real quick, and I'd already had a plan to come back out here to Arizona. At the time, Pat Murphy was the baseball coach, was also my brother's baseball coach at Notre Dame. He's the
Cool.
baseball coach at ASU. Probably he's like, look, I got a dude that'll work you out every day. You can use the facility, et cetera, et cetera. So I actually did all my training on the campus at ASU, in the weight room, on the fields, just alone with my trainer. I went from not skinny, but a baseball player at 225 or so, to when I entered the NFL, I was 250 and, lean and muscled and all that kind of stuff. And it was no fake muscles. Everything was
Yeah.
in the gym, no steroids, no nothing. And, but that's how I transformed the body. But it was kind of cool, looking at that. I wish I had that body now, but yeah, oh my goodness. It was so, I was always a good looking baseball player, but I was a doggone good looking.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you said, it's a completely different body type.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before I let you go, because I feel like we could keep talking for a while, but you mentioned some of the just legends you played against and with. Anyone else come to mind when you just think of just these incredible athletes you had the opportunity to play either with or against that you maybe never thought you would?
You will love this one. When Michael Jourdan was in the Southern League in 1994
Ooh,
with the White Sox, I was with the Cubs that year in Orlando. And
no
Mike and I
way.
got to know each other really well. Because what happened was, he was a traveling freak show. Everywhere he went, it was our stands. The stands were full. So they had to actually let, there was standing room only at our stadium every time they came to play us. But I remember the first time he came, all of my teammates, they're falling over, and I'm looking across. I'm like, yeah, that's Michael Jourdan, dude is my legend. That's a North Carolina man, our 3-time NBA champion. But I was like, well, right now he's playing baseball. That's just Michael Jourdan playing baseball. I remember the first time batting practice, I'm sitting out there, and Mike, he's walking by. I was like, hey, MJ, what's going on? He's like, what's going on, big man? So next thing you know,
That's cool.
over the course of the entire season, we played them probably 15 times, at our stadium theirs. In the first meeting, Michael was he's taking bat practice. We're talking, and I was playing third base. He's like, I'm gonna get one down the line on you. I said, Mike, look, I said, you can try as you might. I said, this hot corner down here, I got this locked down. So he made it a mission, and every game we played them at our place, at his place, it was almost like a competition. And he started calling me Big E. He's like, Big E, I'm gonna get you, man. I was like, MJ, look. So and I'm not making this up. The very last game we were playing them that year, we're at our stadium in Orlando, Tinker Field. And he kept reminding me that he was going to get one down the line. I was like, you've been trying out here, Mike. And we became just great friends. One trip he came in, he was like, hey, where are we going tonight after the game? I'm like, me and you? He was like, so he had his driver come over, pick me up. We went out to a club. I'm rolling with Michael Jourdan. They had to call ahead to the club we were going at, VIP'd it and roped it off. Me, him, and his handler. And I talked to my guys that coming out. Some of his guys from the team, they come out. And then after a while, it was like being in a fishbowl. He was like, look, let's get out of here. He called one of his buddies on the Orlando Magic. I can't remember his name. And he had like a little after-hour speakeasy thing. So it was me, Michael, and his handler, George, in the car. My car, we roll over. So I'm rolling with Michael Jourdan. This is that was the way my year went. So we get to the very last game of the year. And he keeps reminding me. And I was like, Mike, you've been trying all year. Come on, stop it. So it was like his second or third at bat. This big old 6'6", and I'm playing deep and kind of shading to the line. He fakes a drag bunt. I come charging, right? And he does, but he doesn't bunt it. And I stopped and I looked at him. So I was like, okay, you're going to play that now, right? So I'm thinking, so it's cat and mouse now. We're playing back and forth. Next thing you know, our pitcher hangs a changeup. Mike is out front of it. One hopper down the line. I do my one-step dive. I land. All I see is chalk fly up. I look up, and the umpire is pointing fair.
Oh.
And I literally got up. I'm dusting myself off. I look over, and he's cruising into second base with the biggest smile you could imagine on his face. Later on, he got over to third base on the ground ball, and we had a pitching change. So imagine this. And I got a picture of this. It's me, Michael, and his manager that year, who's the Terry Francona.
Oh.
The three of us standing there, and I played under Terry when I was with the White Sox. So we would know. I'm standing there, and Michael he gave me so much. He was like, I couldn't say anything. That shows, like his determination. He was not going to be satisfied unless he accomplished that. I give him so much credit because that was like, he could have forgot about that after the first time we played them that year. He made it a mission. And I don't know how he pulled it off. Because like I said, I was pretty good down. Anything going down the line, I was going to get. He got that one hopper past me. And I'll tell you this, after the game, because after the game, about to end, I was like, hey, MJ, it's been a pleasure, man. Love you, bro. We'll hopefully see you down the road, and good luck on your journey here. And we all know what happened after that. He went back to baseball. Yeah. Like, get over to the clubhouse, and our bat boy comes over with 2 pair of Jordan shoes.
Stop.
Game 1. And he says to me, Mr. Jourdan sent these over to you. And everybody throughout the entire year, who every time he came in town, they wanted to get balls signed. They wanted to do this. I never asked him for one single thing.
Yeah.
I think he appreciated that. And it was like, I was like, are you kidding me? And everybody was looking at me like, oh my God.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But that's my, you're talking about your eye, because then Vince went back to basketball, and I was huge. I mean, I was a bigger Bulls fan. I was just as big a Bulls fan as I am a North Carolina fan at the time when Jordan was there. So for him to win those 3, I got to play baseball with him, and then him go on his way. And then let me see. Hold on just a second here.
You have those shoes?
The shoes are actually downstairs in a case. I was looking to see if I had a couple of the pictures here.
I was wondering if you had to have hung on to them.
Yes. Hold on just a second.
Okay.
Here is the famed MJ and myself after he got the ball down the line on me.
Wait, lower it a tiny bit. Just a tiny bit lower.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah. That is an iconic photo. Wait, you'll have to take a photo and send that to me too, because that is
I have
amazing.
them all on. I'll send you a video copy of it. But that was after he had hit the ball down. And it's one we didn't, when you're playing ball and stuff like that, you don't know when people are taking pictures. That was just one of those great moments. There was a pitching change, him, and I have one of him, and Terry Francona. We're all standing there talking as well. But it's one of those things where, like, I couldn't make that up.
No.
MJ and myself, that's one of my prized possessions is the shoes and the picture. I'll send you pictures of the shoes too, but it's just one of those things where I look back, and I'll explain. I feel like my life is kind of like, you ever seen the movie Forrest Gump?
Yeah.
Where Forrest, it seemed like he was always somewhere where something was happening. I feel like part of my life, like through my sports career, is like, what luck did I have to be in AA that year when I probably should have been up in AAA with the Cubs? They sent me to AA, and that's the year that MJ is there, and I get a chance to do this. And then, go over to the World League and do certain things. And, in the NFL, it's like I felt like Forrest Gump, just I was in spots, and just it's amazing. Like I said, I can only, like I said, I'm such a blessed person, no matter what, body condition, things we all sometimes go through. I'm like, man, you've lived a good life so far. So.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it, and kind of a great way to put a bow on this episode too, is like, we're just lucky. And I mean, you obviously worked really hard too, right? But you had a lot of good blessings, and I think that's a really nice way to look at it.
Exactly. And I can't thank you enough. That I do a lot of these, and sometimes you just get through them, you do them. This one I really enjoyed, and I thank you for having me on, and just a great conversation. I really, like I said, now one of these days I'm gonna have you on our show out here in Arizona too.
Oh, well, that means so much to me, truly. Thank you for being here. Where can everyone find you so they can keep up with you?
Easy, or let me see. Ed Smith Speaks are all my handles. That's my Instagram, my Twitter. That's Ed Smith Speaks. If you want to check out anything I'm doing, easy. EdSmithSpeaks.com. I'm sorry, that's my website. You can catch the radio page. I got a page where people, if you're interested in checking out the book, Easy does it. The Journey of a Lifetime. Every book is signed personally by me and sent out by me. So if you go online to the book page, you purchase it, and I'll get a copy out to you. And like I said, we do the Easy Sports Talk Show out here in Arizona on KDUS 1060 AM every Saturday from 10 to noon Arizona time. And, just like I said, I'm all over the place with the Believe in the Arizona Cardinals podcast. You want to check that out. And then I do great shows like yours as often as I can.
Well, this has been so wonderful. And I again, so appreciate you. Always nice to connect with fellow Believe hosts and just great athletes and people like you. So Ed Smith, thank you so much. And this has been just such a treat.
Thank you. Same here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.